Hey, listen, everybody. I'm Sam. I'm here with Pear.
Hey.
Damon.
Scoop.
Jared.
Hi.
It's a different crew.
What
We're
happened?
on NBC. This is NBC. Oh, man, I already forgot the number.
324.
Yeah. And we are all here because some people are at TGS in Tokyo, including Jose. Mm-hmm. And so this crew here is going to be doing some special fun stuff today. We're going to talk about old games, our favorite topic.
Yay!
Maybe our second favorite topic, but old games are really fun. We're going to play a game.
We're going to play a game? Oh,
Yeah.
we are going to play a game.
Okay. Damon's here to host 20 Questions a Game from Game Scoop, another IGN show, which everybody here should download and listen to because that is the most fun segment I think I do weekly here at IGN.
It's our,
20
it's our
questions?
daddy podcast. If you're not subscribing, do sign up for it.
Game Scoop's great.
Daddy
Yeah.
podcast?
Yeah, that's
Explain
it's the old school big daddy of our
Oh,
podcast,
the Big
right?
Daddy.
Huh?
Okay.
Okay.
Scoop's been around for ages, man.
Yeah, 10 years. Yeah.
400 episodes.
As long as I've been around, yeah.
Wow.
400
And
and change, yeah.
But you've been on NBC before.
I have been. It's been a long time, but
Yeah,
yeah.
many moons, and I've
I
been on
mean,
Scoop
I used to
Live.
be on the Nintendo team at IGN, so I used
That's
to be a
right.
regular.
Were you on Week in
Scoop.
Review with Two Eyes?
I was not on Week in Review with Two Eyes.
Wow.
I was just on Nintendo Voice Chat.
When did we have a week in
It
review?
was
I do not remember
NBC's
this.
old name, yeah.
What?
Before
Well, there
that.
was a console called the Wii, and you'll notice that it's in the stack. I actually have some Wii games that we're going to talk about.
Ooh.
But first, we're going to talk about a new batch of NX rumors. So let me preface this with something cool. Jared runs our NX rumor mill. So every rumor that goes through IGN about the Nintendo NX goes through Jared. So you might not see him on NBC much or hear him on NBC much, but the thing is that he knows everything about everything going on with NX. Him and Andrew Goldfarb runs our news team. Jared runs the
Let's
Twitter page.
clarify that. I know everything that other people are saying true
Yes.
about NX.
You might say he's an inexpert.
Or
Or you
NX.
might call him King Ropes, which
you
is on
could.
his shirt, his hat.
Yeah.
Do you have like a windmill? Like what kind of rumor mill you got?
No, but I do have a throne, an iron
very
throne made
beautiful.
entirely of hemp.
Yeah.
That I
and
set
so,
up.
but how do you? I mean, I looked at your rumor mill list, and it's
Yeah.
on the NX wiki, right? You can find it. Just search IGN Nintendo NX rumors. You'll find it. But like, you do leave out a whole bunch of stuff, which I think is good.
Yeah.
I mean, there are
Sometimes it's just-
so many BS rumors out there. It's amazing.
So what we do is, if we took every rumor, we'd never go home, because every time somebody says, I think it's going to be this way, that's almost a rumor, or I heard this. So what we do is we look for the ones that have at least a little bit of credence to them. They come from sources that are related to media, or people that have provided reliable reports before, or people that maybe through unconfirmed sources or through secondary sources, we think, oh, there's something to this, but we can't say. You know, we
So
put a lot
that's-
of checks and balances up on these, and we are careful to identify these as rumors, because we don't want to misreport a rumor as news, which is a very different thing.
But there's a couple of different levels of rumor, and one of those is a type of rumor in which we actually get an on-the-record source to confirm that rumor, but maybe we keep them hidden or private.
Anonymous.
Yeah, exactly.
So we have a couple
On
classifications, and I have made a scale by which we're going to classify all Nintendo rumors going forward. One of them, and this is debunked rumors that we have taken off of our list, but actually we just labeled them debunked because we kept them on the list so you could read them. Those are going to be called the Nintendo on headset hoax rumors. That is, if you remember, everybody should go search Nintendo on headset right now.
So
there's a hoax for the revolution.
I wasn't even really aware of that.
Oh, it's so great.
I have no
I'm
memory
sure
of
you
this.
saw it.
There was, I think
You
there
put
was
on this
somebody
big
made
headset.
a concept for a
Concept
VR
video.
goggles for Nintendo,
Yes,
and it looked
Nintendo
like
on.
we saw it. We were like, this is way too good. They're never gonna do that.
No, the production value, I never saw this thing until Sam put it out to me the
it's
other
so
day,
good.
and I was just like, this is really going to fool you. I think the only thing in like this 4-minute video that shows that it's off, they do these incredible motion graphics, and then there's like an arrow that's just terribly off-center and looks like it was done in paint. There at one point, everything else
That's
is
what did
perfect.
it. How about the fact that Nintendo would never roll out something that extensive and deep? And like, no, honestly, that's
was
not
before
how they
Nintendo
do
Direct.
things, right?
So-
That was before Direct.
We're getting off on a tangent.
Anyway, that
about
one
the
is
name.
BS. That's long
So
gone.
BS stuff. Those are Nintendo on headset hoaxes. Rumored stuff. We're going to call those "My Uncle Works for Nintendo."
Yeah, that's right.
And then partially confirmed stuff. We're going to call it "I read about that on IGN."
All right.
All right, so let's start with debunked. First of all photos
Yeah.
Every photo out there that you've seen, including some really nicely made ones of like a little oval shiny thing.
Oh, the white. And
Right, these right here.
Well,
This is- yeah.
that's the PSP/Vita looking one,
Yeah.
right? That
Yeah.
one looked exactly like one of the concept drawings, one of
Yes.
the patents, right? So that's why it had some credibility. But there has been just recently a nicely done mock-up in like white with round controller ears attached to the screen, which
Yeah.
of course is also not true.
Yeah, so any photo, realistic things you see of this are not true. Now contrast that to all drawings. Because some drawings might be legit because there's patent applications.
Yes.
Exactly. And
Those
these are, yeah.
partially confirmed. We call those, and we'll get to those, but just draw that distinction.
Okay.
Another thing that's been completely debunked is announcement dates. Now, this very month, we were supposed to get an NX announcement based on several different rumors. One of them said at the GameStop Expo. That's in the past. One of them said September 9th. Well, it's September 15th now.
16th.
There was one
now.
that said
It's in the
TGS.
past.
It actually dropped a week ago. We just missed it.
TGS could.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Unless we missed it, that's been debunked too. So once we get out of that territory, everything going forward is just rumored. My uncle works for Nintendo stuff, like stuff that people heard, stuff that other outlets that we, can say have some credence. And these is the best list for me. This is
Yeah.
really juicy stuff. There's some good partially confers too. So cartridges. That's the first one.
Yep.
We've talked about this on this podcast before. We don't. There's been some advances in flash memory, which is weird to hear because I guess I'm surprised people care about that a lot anymore. Anyway, so cartridges. Tell us about cartridges, Jared.
Okay, so cartridges are small. No, there is some reason to believe that cartridges are going to be available on NX. There was one of the most important ones is a Wall Street Journal report that talks about how there's a possibility that someone familiar with the matter, that was the quote the Wall Street Journal used, supposedly told Wall Street Journal Nintendo is going back to cartridges because of, quote, renewed appeal, end quote, for chip-based storage because of advances in the production of flash memory. Effectively, it used to be that optical media was really cheap and really big. And now flash memory's caught up and is really cheap and really big. So why not go back to cartridge where they think it'll make piracy harder, where it's more compact, and where it'll work with these other rumors we're hearing about a portable system. Right. So there are other mentions of cartridge rumors. That the other reason we're missing this partially confirmed. One, the Wall Street Journal's got a pretty good source on it sounds like. Second, we keep hearing about it from other places, and the reports we hear are all a little different than all the others, which means they're not just resourcing each other.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, look, I am 100% convinced they're going with memory cards. So like people say cartridges, but really what we're talking about is something more akin to like the flash memory in the 3DS,
yeah.
right? The modern equivalent of an SD card. It's a little different from the old EEPROM cartridges we had in the Super NES days. And so like it's a little bit of it's a little rah-rah kind of clickbaity rhetoric to say they're going back to cartridges. They've never left them. The 3DS uses them.
Yeah.
It's a handheld device. The PSP has shown what can happen when you have a little spinny disk drive in a handheld. It is just not efficient. No iPhone has any disk media like that. It's just not the future for handheld.
If it was going to be this small, they'd do it one of two ways. It would either be a cartridge like they've used before in the 3DS and DS, or it was going to be download only. Those were the two options.
Yeah. There hasn't been a home console that used cartridges since the Nintendo 64, right?
That's right.
Yeah, I
mean, there have been
Wow.
like the
It's been a
Ouya
long
without
time.
any drive, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There have been attempts to do driveless, and gamers freak out. But the NX isn't the home console.
And we do know
Well, but-
from GameStop there is news that came out that there's going to be physical media of some kind. Sorry,
It's halfway a home console, right?
Yeah, but that's just a stamp you put on it. I mean, ostensibly, what it is it's closer to an iPad than it is to a Wii U, right? It is a device that you can dock at home. This is from everything we know, right? Internally,
We're hearing.
that we have heard from developers. It is a machine that docks and you can play games on your screen, right? On your TV screen. Well, my iPad can do that too. Heck, my iPhone can do that too. You could argue the Vita can do that too, but it is, I hear you. It's meant to be a replacement in the long run for the Wii U in that they will not be a true kind of at-home only device.
Yep.
Yeah.
So let's go
I hear
through some of these other unconfirmed but rumored my uncle works for Nintendo type things. We got the share button.
Yep.
What happened with the share button?
What happened
Somebody
with this?
reported that there's a share button, just like the PS4 and the Xbox One.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem too unlikely.
If you're
just
listening
seems
to the
to be what
audio
consoles do
version, Jared has a stack of papers that
great.
he rifles
It's
through
great.
to find his rumor.
I
You
might
gotta
have
watch this
brought a
episode.
few too many sheets, I'm realizing, because I studied for this. But the share button thing, that goes into, I believe that was originally part of the streaming NX rumor, right? This one, I think that's where that came from. We got a bunch of features from a survey that supposedly got leaked from probably a vendor that talked about features of hey, if the console could do this, or if Nintendo's new hardware included this, what would you prepare for it? What would you think of it? One of those kinds of situations.
Okay.
And people kind of took that, we think, and might have assumed that, oh, well, those are going to be features. No, those are things Nintendo was just kind of throwing out there in pitching. So
And that other consoles might do.
exactly, that other consoles might do. So things like 4K 60 FPS streaming and things like that, or a 900 FPS.
that was from the same
yeah, those are from that. I think Share Button was a part of that one.
Yeah, then there have been some recent rumors about the share button as well. I mean, like from a is it believable or not perspective, absolutely. The oldest trick in the marketing book is if somebody talks about you, you stand to win, right? So you want to make it easy for people to share. And Nintendo has invested in Miiverse,
Yes,
and in building out your online persona in the forms of Mii's. They're not going to get rid of that. They're going to be around. They're going to be multi-platform, and they want to make it easy for you to share what you're doing, what you're playing, what you're loving with others. So having a button like that makes sense.
Also, I totally screwed up and gave you false information. The Share Button is not from that leak. I apologize. I'm sorry. The Share Button is from the Let's Play Video Games report that the NX controller would have a share button and split D-pad that was part of that room process.
that was a weird one.
I apologize. I just got my facts wrong.
Two things. What's interesting, I think, about the share button is that Nintendo has not been very friendly about people streaming its games.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't know if they're
Yeah, you're
Well,
right. The
so
whole
like-
YouTube crackdown,
Yeah,
right?
but
So
But share could mean to a
own
fixed
network.
platform somewhere.
Yeah.
Think about
Yeah.
how, like in Mario Kart, you could share your replay with others, right? Like that is, it's literally a place on your controller to quickly say, "Oh, remember that, right?
Yeah.
Share that." For,
Yeah,
or
could be that
we
too.
don't know if that means streaming
Or
something,
share
right?
in Nintendo's controlled ecosystem.
Yeah.
Or if they have a magical Nintendo-only place for
Yeah,
streaming.
or stream and make Nintendo money. That could
well,
be the
there's
other
that
feature.
too. Yeah, maybe they do want. Also, I don't know what they mean by split D-pad.
That means it's not a cross.
Like
Like
a
Nintendo,
PlayStation.
Nintendo has a cross D-pad. The PlayStation,
it's one piece of plastic.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the PlayStation's 4 buttons.
Yeah, okay.
Remember the old, there's like a grid, and then the buttons kind of come through that grid.
So a split D-pad means it's going to be more like a PlayStation.
Yes, that means
Exactly.
basically
It's not
Nintendo
just down the
said.
middle or anything
Basically, it would mean that Nintendo said, you know what, the thing that everybody loved, the Nintendo D-pad, is not what we're gonna do. We're gonna switch to the thing that you don't like as much on other controllers.
Okay.
Why would
Right.
you do that?
Yeah.
Well, that's their biggest, most important patent. That they branded their this year's games with that D-pad. That their new red and white advertising campaign has that D-pad on it.
Yeah.
And I believe some of the other companies have not done the full cross D-pad because Nintendo has
own
the
the
patent
rights,
for
yeah.
it. So it's a weird move. Never say never with Nintendo, right? Like they are the
But-
ones that changed their beautiful console to the Super NES with
Yeah,
purple
partially
buttons.
confirmed.
That's true.
You know, any
That was the
any
colored
off-the-record
buttons
sources.
were in their Japanese logo, and yet they made purple buttons in the U.S. So
Yes.
it can happen.
It was weird going to Japan and seeing all the 80s controllers that had cross pads on them because I guess the patent was different there.
Yeah.
Like maybe they weren't able to patent the design because you'd find other controllers with that. And it always felt so good.
The
You're like,
TurboGrafx.
yeah, the TurboGrafx. Well, the Japanese TurboGrafx had that. The American TurboGrafx does not. It has a different
Yeah.
design.
So the only other reason why they could be doing that is that from all we've heard, and we'll talk about this more in a second, is the detachable controllers are going to be budget. Like I don't want to say cheaply made as in they're going to be crappy, but they're not going to be expensive like a full PlayStation or
$60
Xbox
controller.
controller or Wii remote. They're very cheap.
Almost like a
and,
nunchuck.
And so yeah, exactly. And so they may have experimented with different setups, and maybe the split D-pad works better when you turn that thing sideways. Who knows, right?
The only other rumored thing I wanted to touch on was games. So we
Yeah.
have a bunch of actually confirmed games, but rumored games, we have stuff about third-party support and around launch, right?
Yeah, there's a couple of things for rumored games. One of those is that Nintendo in-house, according to some of these reports, is going to have a 6-month launch window with a Mario game, a Zelda game, and a Pokemon game all on NX. We've actually
Too good
talked
to be
about this
true.
before. Yeah, which sounds amazing.
Yeah,
I mean, it sounds absolutely fantabulous if it happens. But there's also talk about some supporting publishers, including Ubisoft, Activision, Sega, Square Enix, and Warner Brothers. Now, we know 2 of those rumors are confirmed already. One of those is Sega.
2 of those publishers.
Right, 2 of those publishers are going to make confirmed games. Because Sega, we know, is making Sonic 2017, and Square Enix, we know, is making Dragon Quest X and Dragon Quest XI. Those games are confirmed. So those 2 publishers, at least, we know are going to support the platform.
And does that surprise you? I mean, this is the kind of rumor where I'm just like, oh, come on, yes, right? Nintendo will make a Mario game for NX. What?
Yeah.
Get out, right? Like, I always get a little irritated at those rumors because, like, nobody will ever prove that it was wrong because it's always going to happen, right? Like, and if it is wrong, you can justify it by saying, like, well, they were trying to make a game in this time period and it didn't work. Sega, of course, will make games for NX.
But there has been a long period of time. We've been going through this drought right now of Nintendo software. You know, Nintendo's first and even second-party publishers have largely gone, or pardon me, developers
for the ones mentioned in the rumor,
have
and that's
largely
why it's
gone
such a crappy
quiet.
rumor.
Yeah.
Like I would love it if the rumor was, guess what, 2K or Square Enix or Capcom is making an NX launch window game.
Well, we're going to get to this, but launch windows, the Wii U was heavily supported by those third parties at launch, which is crazy. When we're going to do a segment on this in just a second after we finish this, and we'll talk about it more then.
Sam, don't forget the most recent rumors that have just surfaced today.
Yep.
Yeah, were you going to go to those?
No.
Okay.
Do you want to talk about it?
Well, I think it's interesting. Andrew Goldfarb, our news analyst, was just working on
date?
this right now. Yeah, very interesting date that was found in the web code of the Nintendo UK site. Zelda Breath of the Wild Amiibo are apparently being released on April 3rd, 2017.
March 3rd.
No, it was...
Is it April 3rd?
Oh, wait. It's UK, so they flipped their dates then.
Yeah.
So,
It's
March
4th. Is what it is, yeah.
March 4th,
3-4.
2017. So would that be the same day that the
And
Wii U is going to,
we were
NX is
actually
going to be released?
able to get into that code ourselves and manipulate it and see it. So
Okay.
this is not coming from somebody else. Like, we were able to go to that website.
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead.
No, so I mean, if those Amiibo are being released on that day, does that mean they're coming before NX or on the same day as NX?
It's a very plausible date because that's a Saturday in Europe, and Nintendo loves to release products on the
Yeah, it would be a
weekend,
Friday.
right? Like, it's just another thing that points at March. I mean, I think it's interesting. But Sam, there's been a slew of other reports that were kind of piggybacking on older rumors, over the last couple of weeks as well, right? Like, I think there were thoughts on resolution, right? That the controller, the pad would actually be a 720p device.
That's right.
Which I think is very credible.
And that it
Well,
could
we've heard-
stream in 60 frames per second at 4K.
Actually,
So
720p
that
is
is
not
less believable.
720p is not what I've read. 720. I've actually read 900p.
That was an older
900p,
rumor.
60
Yeah,
frames
okay.
per second output.
I've seen that one, and then a 4K 60 FPS streaming option built in.
those-
And again, those come from those surveys that I got confused about with the share button.
You're
earlier.
talking about a piggyback.
You're
And
talking
it's
about a
all,
different
and
one.
it's
Yeah.
all, and that's all plausible. The 720p, it is very highly likely. I mean, knowing Nintendo and the fact that they want to have a mass market audience and want to sell this at a decent price, right? Like, if you look at the new iPhones, they're what? Like, iPhone 7 has a 1920 times 1080, so 1080p resolution, and you obviously had Retina device. That's very expensive display technology. Whereas, like, the gamepad, do you guys know what resolution it was? It was 480p. The gamepad was 480p.
For Wii U.
It still looked for Wii U. It still looked really good because, of course, it's at a 6-inch screen. So when
Yeah.
it's small like that, it looks good. And so if the NX follows that same kind of setup, let's say it's 7 inches big, like the display, with a 900 or even a 720p, it'll look really nice.
Yeah, it's going to look great.
That doesn't mean, though, that the internal hardware, which is going to be in the gamepad itself this time, it's not going to be a separate console like with a Wii U.
Yeah.
Because you got to take it with you, right? That still means it could do movie streaming at 4K. There's nothing that prevents that. But you got to ask the question, is that really what Nintendo is all about? And like everything I've heard about this device is that Nintendo is going, and this is what one developer I spoke to called it a reboot. The NX is a reboot for Nintendo. And that, to me, says, cards over discs. Right? It means taking the system with you and not having to decide this weird, like, you're tethered to your living room thing, but also going back to the glory days. And the glory days for Nintendo mean NES, Super NES, and Wii. And the Wii did not win by doing 4K streaming or even HD streaming. It was the most used device for Netflix, and it was standard definition. So I don't think it's all that crazy to think that 4K will get nowhere near this device.
It's entirely possible. I do think there's one interesting nuance. Some of the rumors that seem to be panning out, we're now fairly sure this thing is a removable or detachable device that can be taken with you.
Yep.
Some of those early patent drawings, and patent drawings are a dangerous source of information, but some of those early patent drawings
they're actually
show
patent applications, so they haven't been granted. Which is a funny part of that.
That's exactly, and even then they're only proof of concept. They're just ideas. Yeah. But
and
some
it's not
of those,
that expensive to put them out and get something patented. Like a company like Nintendo can afford to do a whole bunch.
But some of those showed a separate controller, and then they showed a base station that also had its own processing unit, which means that they could offload some of the online stuff to that and do some strange things through that too. If there is, a CPU in there that's designed to handle something like streaming or elements of the multiplayer,
like a smart dock,
exactly,
or like the PlayStation VR, right? The PlayStation VR has additional processing.
So it doesn't have to be on your head mainly, but it's also additional processing.
But that's exactly right. Like the dock could have, as the Tony Hawk skateboard put it, technology in it, right?
Just full of technology.
Full of technology.
So we've talked about all of these now, and I'll just go down the list real quick. These are the partially confirmed. I read about it in IGN. Like these are legit rumors now. That's a funny thing to say, but they are. We've gotten separate sources to confirm these. So one of those is the patent applications drawings. Nintendo did put those in. Like those are real things that exist. They might not have anything to do with NX, but those are real. Portable/home, the whole dichotomy between those two coming together.
One device.
One device. That's something that we.
And Nintendo, by the way, make no mistake about it. When they announced this thing, they're like, "This is not a replacement for the 3DS or the Wii U. This will be like." They're gonna do that whole spiel just like they did with the DS and the Game Boy.
It's the third
pillar. I hope you're enjoying your Game Boys right now.
So
if they screw up that way, they can backtrack.
We also have detachable controller. There's just
Correct.
that there is a detachable controller. Might go in both sides of it. We don't have a lot of details on it.
It does not mean though that the detachable controllers are your main way of controlling the games.
But that is part of our.
It means when you're on the go. So think about the concept of a travel controller, right? Like you have these cheaply made devices. And again, cheaply because they use apparently IR to communicate with the main device, and that only works when it's attached. You don't want to have IR in your living room, like a water bottle standing in front of your TV. You can't control the game. That's not going to be the tech used, right? You need something more expensive, like Bluetooth or RF signals like that are used by other consoles and the Wii U. And so I think cheap detachable controllers give them this wonderful playing field that they had with the Wii. Remember Wii Play had a Wii remote packed in?
Yeah.
You got crossbow training, had the silly attachment, all this kind of stuff Nintendo loves. They can manufacture that stuff really cheap, sell it for a lot of money, and it works well. And so I think they love the concept of being able to attach stuff to this thing to make it do different functions.
Am I remember correctly that even early sketches of the GameCube controller were modular? That there were ideas that they were going to have switchable buttons and interfaces for different things.
Switchable buttons for a long time.
Probably have those patents by now.
Yeah, and Nintendo loves to go back to old ideas. That is their thing, man.
And then I have one final thing. Confirmed games. We have Zelda Breath of the Wild, Just Dance 2017, Sonic 2017, which we suspect to be...
We suspect is a Generations game, but we don't know. Yeah.
And then...
guess what? When you say Just Dance, by the way, guess what that means? A way to measure... No, a way to measure what you're doing. Just Dance was a huge success on the Wii and not a huge success on the Wii U. And Ubisoft tells you it's because the Wii U did not have a remote with motion controls built in. And so it means some sort of hardware, right? That can actually measure what you're doing.
Can be
or a detachable controller. Look at that.
Yeah, look at that.
Yeah. And then Dragon Quest X, which was actually a Wii game that we never got.
Yeah, Dragon Quest X was a Wii U game that we've never had.
And then Dragon Quest 11.
Right, which is a brand new title.
Yes. All right.
Which will also release on DS and PS4.
Nice. Speaking of games that possibly could be at launch, we're going to now talk about the greatest and worst Nintendo launch lineups. The reason for that is twofold. One is that NX is having a launch lineup soon. We're going to start hearing about that hopefully in the next couple months. But also, 20 years ago, this week, I'm sure Per Schneider was covering the launch lineup for Nintendo 64.
That's right.
Because it was starting to hit in it
was so much work reviewing all those games.
Yeah, you must have been really busy covering that launch lineup.
So let's actually start with that one. There were two
There were two
Is that
games.
right?
Two games.
Two games.
There were
In
2
America.
whole games. Yeah.
Yeah.
One
Hey,
of
the
them
Japanese
was
got-
really good.
Oh,
though.
come on. They were both good. I
I
still
thought
really
one of
like
them
Pilot
is good,
Wings.
but one of
One of
them
them is one of the
masterpiece.
greatest games of all time.
You're talking about that Japan exclusive shogi game, right?
Oh, there was that show.
Yeah, that's the one.
Shogi
No, no.
64.
There
Nintendo
we go.
64 was kind of rushed out. I mean, to counter the negativity of the Virtual Boy. Just bounce on your thing there. But yeah, Mario 64 and Pilot Wing 64. Weak launch lineup. But my question is, what came out right after that?
The first games, I think there was Wave Race was the closest one. That one was really
November.
hard to find. Yeah, and
Yeah,
then
I
there
did write
was
that down.
wasn't Blast Core also pretty close?
I
think
forgot.
so.
I took notes on this. So Wave
Yeah.
Race 64.
Blast Core was a
Yeah.
rare game, right?
Blast Core.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't play that.
Blast Core and Mario Kart came out around the same time, but they both came out the next year. Actually, it was like February. Yeah. So the thing comes out in winter, and you actually have to wait till February to get Blast Core and Mario Kart.
But on
64.
November 1st, you got Wave Race 64,
Yeah.
Shadows of the Empire,
Mortal Kombat too.
and Mortal Kombat Trilogy, and
Yeah.
Cruising.
Cruising USA. Yeah.
Cruise and that was
Which was a big game
And
at the
Cruising
time.
was supposed to be a launch title. I mean, that was one of the first titles revealed for Project Reality. Right?
Yeah.
Like that was the Williams / Midway Arcade collaboration where they're saying like, look at Killer Instinct, no Microsoft franchise, and Cruising USA,
Yeah.
right? And like saying this is gonna be possible in your home soon. That was the big pitch. So it's kind of funny that game never launched with the platform.
Yeah, it didn't come out with it, and I mean, yet you had this game that is just sublime, incredible. The console was designed to play Mario 64,
Yeah.
and then you get things like Cruisin' or Mortal Kombat Trilogy. You're like,
Trilogy
you
was
know,
not good. Yeah,
Yeah.
I really loathe Trilogy, but Wave Race is one of
Yeah.
my favorite games of all time for the N64. It is a little bit technically challenged because they were trying to do things that still developers can't figure out how to do right. The water physics, and that was great.
Sam, so the N64 came out in September, just as I was starting college at the University of Kansas.
Yep.
I didn't get the console until my birthday in January,
Oh.
and then I spent all of my second semester just in my dorm room playing Mario 64.
What about Kart? Did you play that at all at that
I
point?
didn't. I never had Mario Kart 64.
Yeah, I missed.
I played
Mario
at
Kart
friends' places, but I never owned it.
So every day at IGN would end with us playing Mario Kart.
Yeah.
Like, and it would honestly eat into the magazine guys were in the same building, right?
Yeah.
Next Generation Magazine, Ultra Game Players, and it would totally eat into their time all day long. They couldn't stop playing.
So you're doing that in February, and it runs to August. Now, in August, did you guys all switch to GoldenEye?
Yes.
Okay, I was wondering if
Yeah.
that,
That
that
was
was
just
what.
was just a year into the N64.
Yeah, GoldenEye was less than a year into the
So
N64's
if
life.
you were playing that all spring,
I mean,
and you,
also that's what led me to what would become IGN. Trying to find all the stars led me to N64.com.
Yeah.
Did you
Oh yeah,
that
we
guide?
write that. We wrote that guide. It was
was a tough
it was
slog.
separate article pages, and I think
Yeah.
it was like tiny little 160 times 120 images with a little red Mario hat logo
Yeah.
in the
Aw.
corner. Yeah, that was our logo. Was a Mario hat.
So
cute.
Yeah, I don't think that was legal.
No, but you didn't know.
did it feel at that time like there was that kind of launch drought after the launch? Like, oh, there's all this new stuff. Christmas came, and then like you had to wait a long time because with that February drop of games, it seems like that was pretty cool. And then, but then you had to wait till August.
It was a really bad drought, and like
It was?
it
Okay.
obviously, yeah, and
It felt that way?
it led to there was that famous article in Next Generation magazine, something's wrong with Nintendo, right? Like the Nintendo couldn't figure out how to fill the gaps. The N64, before it launched, a lot of third parties were upset over the use of cartridges, all said, okay, we'll take a wait-and-see attitude. Then when it finally took off, more jumped on board, but it just took so long to develop for this system because it wasn't like the PlayStation. It
Yeah.
came with a bag of limitations like fill rate, that the PlayStation was much more forgiving textures and so forth.
Oh, the
But
texture mapping was awful.
But it also provided these like very steady polygons, right?
Yeah.
Without twitching, like you could do all these things, but it all came at a cost. And then you had to figure out how to do music again, which a lot of developers were used to. PlayStation now, you just stream it off the disc. You didn't have to worry about the processor.
The
And so
N64
it took-
didn't really even have a sound chip.
No,
I mean, you
it's
had to run it through the main
Exactly.
processing architecture. So that was
So
really
it
weird.
took a while. It took a while, and we were very aware of that drought. And so it was all spent covering about what could be and what will be someday. And
Did
we're
you
all
cover any
pining
Virtual
for
Boy
these,
games?
Pining for these. No.
Okay.
You-
Which way do you want to go? We got to get through some of these.
Oh,
so do
sorry.
you want to go back in time or forward in time? After
Oh,
this?
we can
Just
go.
start with the NES.
Yeah.
All right,
Go
Yeah,
back.
so let's
just go straight
back.
there.
NES launch lineup, really funny because what does everybody think? Is the most important early NES game? It's Super Mario Brothers. Not at launch.
Packed
This was
in.
not at launch.
It was not.
It wasn't packed
As
in
far as we
originally.
can tell, it was not actually a launch
The
title.
original pack-in was Gyromite.
Oh, that's right.
So you get a series called Black Box games. They all look like this. They all have a little pull tab on the back, and they're hung up in stores. I'm going to go through some of them. I think these are the best ones.
Yeah.
Duck Hunt,
Duck Hunt's good.
Excite Bike,
Yep.
Yep.
Gyromite was pretty cool. And that's about it for good games.
What about Kung Fu?
Wrecking Crew, I think, was great.
Wrecking
was
Crew.
that long.
Kung Fu when you
And I
then
think Kung Fu is also
yeah
a lot of fun.
yeah
Never
Kung Fu's
played it.
fun.
That's a good
You ever
point.
played Kung Fu?
Kung Fu was that early.
Yeah, it's a 5-stage game with 5 unique bosses. At that time, that was like whoa.
And what's really interesting is you walk to the left in that game.
Yeah.
You walk to, and then the next floor you walk to the right because your stairs ended and you went up and you're going back through
And
the
if
building.
you want to play a lot of these games, the best way to do it, NES Remix.
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Because some of these are really annoying. Like Clue Land, it doesn't have a great control scheme. Pinball is just really boring. Soccer, but you can play all those with these funny little achievements in NES Remix. Go check that out. You'll get used to the NES launch lineup.
I love that you brought up Wrecking Crew. That game.
I
that's
love
a
Wrecking Crew
fun game.
because that was when you were able to build your own buildings and then destroy them.
Design your own stages. Yeah, that was really cool. And then of
Like
course,
Lode Runner. It was very Lode Runner like.
and kind of like we said about the N64, a little later on, you get Blast Corps, you get Mario Kart. Even Super Mario Brothers is the game that comes along and just after
Is this
launch.
true?
Afterwards.
When I was looking up these launch lineups, the NES was released in October of '85 with this first batch of games. Is it really true? There was not another single game released until June of 1986.
Okay,
when we
so
got all the Donkey
controversial
Kongs.
because of Mario's unknown release date. But
Yeah.
it's something like that.
There was almost a year in between those game drops. It's
Frank
insane.
Cifaldi has made it the goal of his life to document the release date of Super Mario Brothers, and he keeps getting closer. He keeps finding better and better evidence.
That route is
But-
accurate,
It's insane.
We
Yeah.
know like what Tutankhamun ate for
Yeah.
lunch on like the Saturday the 14th, 50
Yeah.
BC, but well, no, he's
Well,
older
the
than
toy
that.
industry
but, like,
was
we
different.
don't know when this game came out.
Two things. One, it's very difficult to go look up papers, especially old business papers that have largely been shredded from toy companies and toy stores in the 80s that don't exist anymore, chains that have shut down. We just don't have the documentation. Second, apparently they weren't all that great at keeping notes anyway, and that those two things kind of combined for that. We know so much about the Japanese launches of everything because it was meticulous record keeping, but here in the States, those things were not preserved.
And it's important to note, like, people didn't play the NES for a year. Like, it did not
It was
take off
launched
till the
in
next
it was launched in
Christmas season.
small. It was like only New York and LA, small
Yeah.
markets.
And that
It didn't go wide.
And the FAO Schwartz
Until
market.
the following
Build and
year.
build and build. The next Christmas, there was
Yeah.
a lot of Nintendo hubbub.
But
But-
weren't there, like in the US, weren't there gaps? Like I remember, like in the Atari VCS days, there were long gaps between software too, right?
Oh, of course.
Well,
Yeah,
there was
that's always been a
early
thing.
on, especially. It gets pretty. They're rolling them out by mid '87. Like they are coming.
And it
'86
never
there's
stopped after that.
yeah, there's some significant releases in '86. You have things like Gradius, for example, comes out that year. There's other good stuff. But
All right, so SNES.
Wait, I want to bring something up about Super
Yeah,
Mario Brothers.
go ahead.
The back of the box here, I was just
Oh,
reading
yeah,
this. It says, to get to the princess, you'll have to climb mountains, cross seas, avoid bottomless pits, fight off turtle soldiers, and a host of black magic traps.
Whoa.
I never knew there was
Name
black
one.
magic involved.
Name one black.
in
Well, I
Super
guess
Mario
it's
Brothers.
the fire wands.
the
I guess
Podobo
it's
and the
black
fire.
magic.
Yeah, that's black
This
magic.
also says it's another non-stop adventure from the Super Mario Brothers. I don't know what the other one before this
They
Well,
were
they're
just
Mario
Mario
Brothers.
Brothers.
The Mario Brothers.
Yeah,
like
but
where they
that's like,
fight against each other.
Yeah, but also like that's not much of an adventure. They just like they're in one screen.
They're cleaning the sewers.
But was this released after another like this edition came out after another Super Mario Brothers had already
not.
came out? No, right?
As far as we know, that's the original
It's got a
packaging for the
30-day warranty
States.
on it.
Yeah.
It's
Another non-stop adventure from
Yeah.
the Super
Another
Mario Brothers.
non-stop
I think it's
adventure.
probably just
Because of Mario
some
Brothers.
copy editor wanted to write Mario Brothers and like, no, the game Super Mario Brothers. Tell them they're super,
Yeah.
otherwise it'll make them sound less cool.
But
That's
Wrecking
quite true.
Crew was out, right?
Black Magic though.
Oh, Black
has
Magic!
a Mario
Wow.
in
That has one of the Mario Super.
Magic is
It also has what's the Foreman Spike? Is that his name? The mean guy?
All right.
He has all overalls. All right,
Super
I
NES.
actually skip. No, Game
Oh,
Boy.
Game Boy.
So probably the best launch game ever, Tetris.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
But
it.
It's in strong contention with other ones. Tennis, Super Mario Land, baseball, Alleyway. So out of those, I liked Alleyway a lot.
I like Alleyway.
And Super Mario Land was exciting at the time, but I think Super Mario Land 2 ended up being a lot better.
Yeah.
Yep.
I
Tennis
had
is
Tetris. I guess I left it in my bag. I brought all these games in to show, but
Tennis was cool if you had the link cable. Because it was a great proof of concept on what you could do with two Game Boys. You're like, whoa, I've never. If you and your friend hooked that up together, like, wow, this is really neat.
Yep.
And that was a really cool, like, that would portend, later games like say Pokemon, and what was going to be possible through that cable. That's when.
Seeds.
all of those games
Yeah.
are made by Nintendo.
So these are all.
So the first list, 19 games. This is 5.
Mm-hmm.
The next, SNES, another 5 games. F-Zero, Gradius 3, Pilot Wings, SimCity, Super Mario World.
All 5 of those games are
third
good.
Parties.
That's actually
Pilot
really
Wings, right?
Whoa,
no,
you said
Gradius
third
is
party?
Gradius is Konami.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, Gradius is Konami.
But that's a really strong lineup.
Yep.
All those games are good.
Well, and then SimCity. What am I saying?
Yeah.
yeah,
And
yeah,
Pilot
which is
Wings.
But SimCity had Nintendo stuff.
right. It's got Bowser in it.
That's why it's confusing
Didn't
to me.
Nintendo
always.
publish that game? That
Yeah,
version
they
of it?
must have.
And Dr. Will Wright.
'Cause it has Bowser in it, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's right.
I love that version. And then, like, only a little while after, you get Final Fantasy IV and ActRaiser, like, back to back.
Oh, those came
I think
out
that's
right
probably-
after.
Yeah, those
Final Fantasy IV, was that
those came
early?
out. They came out in November. Yeah, they came out
Okay.
like they
So
came
by
very
Christmas,
quickly.
You had that lineup.
Yeah,
For
it
my
was-
money, that's the strongest Nintendo console launch lineup.
It's the strongest Nintendo console.
Well,
Period. It's I mean the amount of hits on that machine.
Sam, I'm being disruptive, but I do. Well, I should wait for the end. But Tetris and this, which is better? Which is the better launch
Yeah.
game?
I mean, that's the thing. I
This.
might take all of Mario 64 as a launch game over some of these others because it was so big.
Yeah,
Like
but
it could last you till June.
Yeah.
But
you
they
know?
both did what like Mario 64 was made for that or that console was made to play that game. But Tetris was like one of the greatest demos of what portable cartridge-based gaming could be. Like it's so hard for me. It hurts my head trying to
such a good
decide which
match
one's
for this.
such a great match.
It's a pure game, but it's a different game. Like to me,
Yeah.
Tetris is kind of like a continuation of what we had from the arcade age.
Yeah.
Right. Like, and so I think it's a great game, but to me, like notability factors into it, and like you just can't beat Super Mario 64. Like if you were a gamer and you turned that on, you'd be like, holy moly,
Yeah.
you know where this is going. And like we're sitting here, we know where it went. We're playing games like Grand Theft Auto, and like we're
Yeah.
looking at the graphics and the immersion factor. We're gonna put on VR headsets soon. That's how that
I think you're
started.
right. I think
Yeah,
Mario
it's wild.
64 was more important for software overall in general, whereupon Tetris made people buy Game Boys.
Yeah.
And
No, you're
Tetris
right. And
made
it
the
was-
hardware.
that's a good point.
It was like the most mainstream friendly title too, where like people who would never think about playing games would play it.
Would
right?
buy a Game Boy.
Which
Yeah.
is
It was in pop culture a lot more than even Mario.
It's that
was.
classic photo of Hillary Clinton playing Game Boy.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
right.
wow.
Cool.
What do you got here? You got you got Super
All-Stars.
Mario All Stars.
Oh,
I think we
I
mentioned
couldn't
on
find a copy of just Mario World, so that's the
have
best
them all.
cartridge
That's
ever made.
the
Yeah, I think this
best
is probably
cartridge.
the best video game package.
Yeah, we were just talking about this
released,
at
yeah.
work. It's Super Mario All Stars plus Super Mario World for a weirder later
Didn't you
packet.
cheat and put this on the list?
I did. I did put this on the list.
We
yeah.
will continue the Super NES
Yeah,
list
yeah.
soon. By the way, sorry about the
So
pause.
let's move on to a few other releases. Virtual Boy, I'm just going to do it quickly. Galactic Pinball, Mario's Tennis, the Pac-Man, Red Alarm, and Tellero Boxer. I brought a nice version of the Japanese version.
You know what? I played
of
each
Mario's
one of
Tennis.
those games for
Really
5
cool.
minutes. I never spent significant. I never owned one.
Wario's good.
I need
though.
to just find one somewhere and like.
It's got to be good.
I play them well.
Tennis,
But,
tennis
like,
is.
can you play it for an extended time period? Like,
It
are we
hurts,
immune now?
It hurts my head when
Yeah.
I try to do it. It really does hurt my head
haven't
if I do
built
it
up
for too
immunity.
I'm
long.
okay with it. I can play it forever.
Yeah, it's but Mario Tennis and
Right.
Red Alarm, both fun games.
The only place I've ever played the Virtual Boy is at Sam's house.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, we had one out at one point because I found like a pinball game for it, and we were like all playing pinball at the house. And I
And?
said, "You want to try this?"
Did you think it was
I mean,
terrible, or did you think it was
I
like,
think
oh,
they
that's
look.
interesting?
I think the look of the games is awesome.
Yeah.
They're red.
I don't
and
know
black.
how long I really want to spend
Yeah.
playing in
It's
that
like
thing.
an inky black background
Yeah.
with really stark red. It looks like nothing else.
It
That's
looks
what
really
kinda
rad.
cool.
Yeah. You should experience it in your life at some point if you can. Mario Clash that came later,
I'll
fun.
find one somewhere.
Wario, like
Thing
you
is-
said.
All right, so Game Boy Color, that's a small launch. I'm not even going to go over that. It's Tetris DX. And
That's it.
But Game & Watch Gallery too.
Yeah, who cares?
Okay, but only really old guys with King Ropes
Yeah.
hats were totally excited about that one, right?
Huh.
And I had Game and Watch in the past.
Yeah.
I'm an old guy. I don't have the hat.
But
All right,
Pocket
we gotta
Bomberman,
move
Pocket
through these.
Bomberman.
Sam's blown the whistle.
We got to go through these. But okay, so NES had a lot of games at launch. 19. Every launch we've talked about so far, 5 games. Now GBA, huge launch. We had Castlevania Circle of the Moon.
Yeah.
It's about 15 games. Circle of the
Remember
Moon,
when we got 2D Castlevania games?
People Love
Yeah.
Choo Choo Rocket. I've never played that
Oh,
game.
that's
That
a
was good.
great version of Choo Choo Rocket.
Dodgeball Advance, Super Mario Advance, which is actually Super Mario World, so
right.
reliving that, and then a bunch of other games.
That version of
Tony
Namco.
Hawk was great on
Tony Hawk,
GBA
yeah,
too.
people like
Namco
Yeah.
Museum, when the GBA came out, was a revelation because those were great versions
right.
compared to
Yeah,
what you'd
yeah.
had before. You're just like, wow, I can take these with me, and they were well suited for portable. And Konami's Crazy Racers is a remarkably good kart racer.
That is the Goemon cart, basically, right? Like,
Yeah.
it has characters from all the Konami franchises, from like Metal Gear and Goemon, all mixed up together, parodias. That was actually a really competent game.
Yeah, it's a great game.
Completely
It's a lot of
forgotten,
fun.
isn't it?
I really like that game a lot.
Yeah.
And then in September you get Advance Wars, and then everyone's happy.
Then that's it. That's all we needed.
No drought there. GameCube. I remember this as being a really weak launch.
What?
Well, but it had Luigi's Mansion, Star Wars Rogue Squadron 2. Those are the two probably biggest games for that launch. What do you remember, Perry?
What about
What's
Monkey
better?
Ball?
Yeah, Super Monkey Ball.
Monkey
I'm
Ball
not a
was
football
really good.
This
amazing.
game.
And this is the first time a video game looked like the movie.
Oh, it
Yeah.
was-
Like
it
you
looked
do the
amazing.
like the way just the shadowing and the way the ships look, and it was that was so eye opening to see this game.
Featuring
it was
the voice
also
of Dennis Lawson, the original Wedge and
that's
Tilly.
right.
There
the
you
Wedge.
go, wow.
But Wave Race Blue Storm, that was
Yeah, you
launched.
guys
Yep.
love
And
Wave
I'm a
Race,
big
remember
Wave
that.
Race Blue Storm fan, especially once you unlock the later levels where it gets all stormy and crazy.
Also Super
It's an
Monkey.
underrated game. Crazy Taxi, not bad.
Yeah, Crazy Taxi's on there. Super Monkey Ball's there, which is a really wonderful game. But I'm not kidding. I cried the first time I played this game. Like,
this
I'm
game was
not
awesome.
kidding. I actually teared up when I first played Rogue Squadron. I was like,
Well, also because the music. This
Exactly.
was not a popular time for Star Wars. Like,
Yeah.
Star Wars was not like Episode 1 had come out and be like, oh, what the hell? And does this have an Naboo ship in it?
no, that comes later. That comes later. This one I don't think has a Naboo ship in it.
Yeah. It was kind of in between movies.
I think
so
it's in the
don't
third one that you get the Naboo ship, and then Starfighter.
there was a hidden one in there.
Is there a hidden one? Okay, I
it
couldn't
was
remember.
unlockable.
Maybe it was the Jedi Fighter, is what it was.
Yeah.
No, one of them has the
It's
yellow.
probably the Naboo
yellow-
ship. If it's going to be in one,
starship.
it'll be this one. Okay.
Yeah.
The GameCube is the only Nintendo console I bought on launch day. I picked up the black box. I got this game and Tony Hawk 3, and that kept me happy through Christmas until I got Pikmin.
Oh, that's a
Did you
good
carry it
day.
home with a handle?
Yeah, I took.
Did you
I opened the box.
Bill
and then-
Daemon, like, yay!
The GameCube was so groovy.
So then Pikmin came out on December 3rd along with Smash Brothers.
That's a good day.
See, that's how you follow up a launch. And yet,
It's a good launch follow.
the GameCube I would not consider to be the greatest success for Nintendo, right? Like
No.
a troubled console.
but not a monumental failure like
No,
like
but
a couple of the others.
They made a lot of money on it.
But they had great software, and like honestly, like there were so many good 4-player games too. And like even third parties, like if you think of Time Splitters, like there were all these little gems you could play on this machine.
It
They
was,
did-
It was Nintendo's last attempt to compete directly with
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sony and Microsoft.
That was their solution to like a mainstream, like a
Yeah.
full-fledged console.
And from what I've read, they found a way to manufacture the thing at a technologically superior level
Yep.
and make a profit on the hardware when they sold it. So
Yeah.
they made even though they didn't sell as many of them, they made a ton on that thing.
Yeah.
Even before software.
But I would say they were also misreading the market. And at that time, Sony said, you know what, DVDs are a big deal. People
Yeah.
want to watch DVDs.
Yeah.
And like all those little factors added up,
Yep.
right? Where the GameCube had its own like
Those little discs.
proprietary
Oh,
GD disc format, and it's like they misread the market on some of those things. But the machine was actually pretty powerful. I mean,
yeah.
some of the best made
I think we
GameCube
all had
games
fun
looked
that
amazing.
holiday too. It was
Yeah.
a really fun launch. Like
Yep.
the
Yeah,
games
it
are
was
just
really
like
fun.
every game I played is like I wanted to play that game a lot.
Yeah.
It did
That was a good
480p
launch.
too. Remember at a time
Yeah.
when others weren't talking about it, you could custom order, of course, the damn cable, but like you could.
Could you get the cable that early?
Yeah.
Did you guys have them? Okay.
Yeah, you had to. Like I think we first got them from Japan because you
Because
couldn't
I only
find
got
them
them
anywhere.
years later because my TV couldn't.
It was a real bummer.
All right, so that's actually all we have time for our launch lineups. There's a few more systems. I'm sorry, but we have to move on to a very special segment. We're gonna play 20 questions. Oh. So, on Game Scoop every week, Daemon runs a game.
Yep.
It's really fun, and there's also scoops. You guys should all check out this show because it's really fun when we play this game.
Yeah, and I should also point out on the GameScoop YouTube channel, we break out just the 20 questions
20
segment.
questions.
So there's a whole playlist for just the 20 questions games. And it works like 20 questions. You have 20 yes or no questions to guess the object, person, place, or thing.
We always get the Nintendo ones.
The caveat is that
Oh,
video
man, we
game
are
20
so-
questions,
we
it's
are so
always,
dead now
it's
that you
always
say
a
that.
video
He's
game.
gonna pick something obscure. I know.
I don't pick them, so
Oh.
the viewers and listeners email me their suggestions.
So are we getting a PlayStation
how
or an
can
Xbox
people-
game
This
here?
one
How
comes
do people
from...
just submit them to you just first of all?
They email gamescoop@ign.com.
Okay.
Just like Nick
All right.
did. Nick emailed us this week's suggestion. So,
Okay.
20 questions may begin now.
But hold on, we are in the Nintendo voice chat here, right? Can we from the get-go say that it is in the Nintendo realm, or is that a question we have
You
to
could spend a
wait?
question on that.
Oh my lord,
Go for it.
Damon
You're welcome to spin
Hatfield,
that.
man.
Spin the question, Pear.
Huh?
You can start with that. We kind of go around.
Is it a game for a Nintendo system?
Hold on. Are you asking if this game has ever appeared on a Nintendo system?
Or are you
Or
asking
what
if it's a
what question
Sounds
are
like
you
Lemmings.
asking?
What a jackalope. Yes, has this game appeared on a Nintendo system?
Yes.
Because the thing is, we also have to ask if they're exclusives.
Okay. All right, fine. You guys, go next.
I like to start with years.
Yeah.
So I like to do, did this come
take
out
notes.
Before September, or sorry,
Very
before
specific.
January 1st, 2000?
Yes.
Okay, so it's before.
Before
did
January
it
1st, 2000.
did it come out after January 1st, 1990?
No.
Okay, so it's an older game.
Did it come out after January 1st, 1985?
No.
Whoa.
Wow, early.
It
Okay.
was on a Nintendo console, so it's Donkey Kong.
Okay, appeared on a Nintendo
I was
console.
just going to say, like, it's, you had
Popeye.
to ask because, yeah.
Was this an arcade game?
Yes.
Okay.
It's an arcade game.
It's an
It
arcade
was on
game.
Nintendo console, so it could be any arcade game from that classic.
Does
era.
it feature any of the lower primates?
No.
Okay. So it's
There's
not.
no apes.
All right. Let's see. Could be Popeye. Could be
Now he's like, what are the primates?
yeah.
It could be stuff even like Radar Scope.
It could
but,
be
But we don't
arcade
know.
punch. It could be
wasn't on a
arcade.
Nintendo console,
Oh,
so
it wasn't on a
can't be-
Nintendo system. You're right.
It could be arcade punch out. It could be
How
yeah.
come you don't look at him? I always look at him because
What?
like
You want to read my face?
yeah.
Yeah.
That's a
Oh,
good
we
point.
do. We
Wait.
do. But he's gotten so good. If you
Yeah.
watch
Yeah,
this,
he's
it's
really
even
good.
better because Daemon. We will say a game name that it is. Right in the middle of it, and Daemon will go so stone faced.
So
and just,
so,
it's amazing.
so
I've
it's not
reviewed his
DK because he
facial,
said
and-
no primates or what?
It can't be DK because there's no primates. Can't be DK. Can't be DK Junior. It could be Mario Brothers. There's no primates in that.
Okay, why don't we ask some more specific questions? Does it feature animal characters?
That's a good question.
What? How? I need more information. What do you consider an animal character?
Well,
Like, just any
do
non-human?
the characters featured in the game are they animals? Like, are there like kangaroos hopping around, or are there mice?
I need. It needs to be a more specific question, like a yes.
What?
Or, like.
Are they animals in the game?
Okay. Yes, there are
Yes,
animals.
there
Yes,
are
there are
animals
animals in the
So
game.
it could be Mario Brothers.
Because there's crabs in it.
Right, there's crabs
Oh yeah,
and
the
turtles.
soup-
There's
yeah,
crabs
the
and turtles.
original,
Yeah,
crabs and
All
turtles.
right, so it'd be crabs and turtles. That might be a good one to.
That's old too.
It's old. Oh, it fits the
Is
description
it
so far.
two-player?
If it is, it's just like alternating.
So it's not Mario Brothers. Okay.
Wow, yeah.
So it appears on Nintendo hardware. It's pre-85.
Whoa! What did you say first?
It appears on Nintendo hardware. It's pre-85.
But it could be in any Namco collection. I mean,
That
we
could
haven't
be.
narrowed down
That's true.
anything.
Maybe we should find out if it's actually a Nintendo game. I mean, if it's a Nintendo like
Yeah,
exclusive.
once you
but-
go, I think that's a good
wait,
question.
Is this a Japanese developed game?
No.
Oh,
This is really important. Nice, Sam. Nice.
not
it could be Atari.
Japanese developed.
So it's something that came along later but showed up on a Nintendo system.
So this could be in the Tengen realm.
Well, but
Anything Atari.
yeah,
Tengen
wow.
was the publisher, the fake name publisher Atari used to publish games on Nintendo system.
Okay.
Sounds Japanese, right?
Wow.
Isn't.
That's fun.
Atari's not Japanese.
Okay, so we're going.
But we don't know what it is. Still.
Probably not licensed because there are not that many licensed games then, so we shouldn't waste that
Tetris
question.
doesn't
Is
have
it a-
animals in the
I got
game, by the
one.
way.
All right.
Is it a sci-fi game?
No.
Not a sci-fi game.
That's
That's
10.
huge. That's a great question. That eliminates half the video games from that era right there.
Really does.
So,
Space Invaders.
yeah, you're halfway through your questions. Do you want to review what we know so far?
Yeah, let's
so
review
we
it.
know it was released before January 2000. It was not released after 1990, but it was after 1985.
No.
Correct?
No, before 85.
Before 85. Sorry, before 85. It is on a Nintendo system, but judging from how he asked the question, not exclusively
Well, we
so.
asked if it was an arcade game, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was an arcade game. True. Any primates? You said primates, not
Yeah,
privates.
any lower
Yeah.
primates.
Yeah. No. Yes, there are animals in the game, however.
Yeah.
There are technically, and we're getting a technical answer for that one.
Yeah.
But it is not Japanese developed, and it's not a sci-fi game.
Okay, so
And Burger Time has already been one of these, so it can't be that.
Not Japanese developed. Wow, that's interesting. That was not what I expected
Oh,
going
and
in
also
here
that
today.
Burger Time's a Japanese game.
Yeah. That's,
All right, let's keep moving.
Did you ask whether it was developed by Nintendo? Did we ask
no,
that?
we didn't ask it. Well, it's
So
it's
that's the
not
point
Japanese,
now.
so it can't be developed by Nintendo,
Oh, I
right?
see. Okay, you're right. But
Is the game about eating?
No.
The game's not about eating. Okay, so that eliminates several things.
not about eating.
It's not
Sam,
sci-fi.
damn you.
We can't ask about single screen because there's so few scrollers from that period, really. I mean, and the ones that are all space games, right?
Are there any Game & Watch games that were also arcade games?
Also an arcade game.
I love you're stuck on Nintendo.
Also an arcade game.
It's not Japanese developed, so it can't be.
Yep. So it's not any of the... Okay, so American developed arcade games. Do we want to ask if it's
It could be
Atari?
Cube or anything. Yeah, sure.
Is it an Atari game?
No.
Okay, it's not Atari. So
not
Atari
Atari.
didn't develop it. All right, so it could be Cubert. That's a great one. But I think we've had Cubert before.
yeah. Are there sequels?
Yes.
That's big. They're sequels. All right.
Oh, we're getting really high up there for our perfect era. of,
Just to make sure, you don't actually think Pac-Man is an animal, right? Just checking. Ghosts
No,
are not animals.
This is a game
Okay,
about
that
eating.
was-
Game about eating.
Yeah.
Because
Cubert
like
doesn't
Cubert,
eat.
okay, I guess Coily is a snake.
What's grabbing me is it's non-sci-fi. That's so many of the games in that period are sci-fi. This is really cool.
We got fantasy and eating.
Yeah, fantasy and eating are
Those are the
out.
only other two genres.
Okay.
But there's always, remember, Pong was a sports game. So
Right, but Pong. But we did find out this eventually appears on Nintendo
It's got
hardware.
animals, remember, so it can't be Pong.
maybe.
Can't be
maybe.
Pong. Does
That
have-
one's ambiguous to me.
Does have
No,
animals.
so the whole puzzle
80
genre is basically out.
Oh, it's not Atari, so it's not Gauntlet.
I mean, it could be any arcade game. We just haven't narrowed them down. It could be
Yeah.
Kicks, it could be Jungle
It
Hunt.
could be
this
Kicks.
like-
Well, isn't Kicks Japanese developed?
Taito, yeah.
Yeah, that's it's the American developed. Who developed American arcade games
I don't
besides
know,
Atari?
but Daemon loves games with penguins and ice cubes, and he likes little dragons shooting bubbles.
He
And,
didn't
That's
choose
true.
it.
Yeah.
He didn't choose it.
but he would pick from a list
And it
of.
would be
But again, those are.
whether Pango
But
was an animal. or not.
yeah, and also Pengo again. That's Konami, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sega. Sega
so
published
that's
by Sega,
Japanese.
but-
Yeah, that's Japanese, and so is
Frogger.
Bubble Bobble. That's Taito. Frogger's Konami
Frogger.
and
All right,
Sega.
all right. Where do we go from here? How do we narrow this down more?
Well, now we
American-
need
See your
to.
character? Does that
American
matter in this stuff?
American arcade developed games. Like besides Atari and Gottlieb,
Should we
who
ask
else
the
made
Pat
arcade
question?
games?
Unless he's going back to like the hits from the UK era,
Oh.
where we had games from Europe on Amiga
I
and
got one.
Commodore.
I got one.
What?
Is your character a human?
Yes.
Okay,
Okay.
character's human.
Thank goodness.
But
Oh.
how does that help us? So
Who did-
It's not Pac-Man.
But we already knew it wasn't Pac-Man because Pac-Man's not
But
an
you're
animal.
not, you're not in a spaceship. Or what
Okay,
Alright.
so we're leaning more into the Contra, Castlevania realm, maybe of things, but they're all
And you're not-
Japanese.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It could be. Who did Jungle Hunt?
This is like some game I
Taito.
don't know.
That's Taito. Okay.
I know,
You
this,
know this
game?
game.
And there's
I
a
know this
million
game.
sequels.
Yeah. And oh yeah,
Right,
it's
by
a
his
sequels,
answer.
right?
There's sequels.
There's sequels to this game.
How many questions do we have left?
You have 6 questions left.
We're gonna.
Wow.
We can. This is one
Okay,
we
I
should.
got
Be,
one, I got
okay,
one.
what do you got, mine?
Is this post 1982?
Yes.
So it's
So
between
it's
82 and
82 and
85. Yeah. So it's the
So
golden age of
It
arcades.
could still be Cubert.
But we had Cubert before.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we've had Cubert.
It could still be Cubert.
It could still be Cubert. He could have doubled up on us.
There's no like hard rule that we can't reuse games or that I might not accidentally pick a game again. Just so you guys know.
That's the only reason I haven't guessed Cubert already is we actually had Cubert before.
You have 5 questions left.
Does this? You know what? I'm gonna. Does this game feature snakes?
I mean,
Are there snakes in this game?
yes.
Okay, well, Cubert has
Is it
snakes.
Zookeeper?
It could be
No, that's
Zookeeper.
right.
Okay, so Cubert has snakes in
What do you
it.
mean there could be snakes?
I didn't say there could. I said yes.
There are snakes. So there are
You
snakes.
said, I mean...
You looked a little
mean,
confused,
yes.
like
I mean, it's like if you ask, is there a snake in this game? Like, there could be 1, there could be 1,000. Like,
Yeah.
oh,
but
I
the-
see.
I'm not telling you
Coily's
how
in
many.
Cubert. Cubert has sequels. I mean, it fits the profile. I can't think of other games with snakes from the period off the top of my head that we haven't already gone through that are arcade games.
Well,
So
when did Raiders
does-
come out?
That's not arcade though. That never came out in arcade.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. So there's no Raiders. Was
Raiders
no
what?
Raiders of the Lost Ark.
The coal mining game? That was,
No, that's Temple of
Atari.
Doom.
That's Temple.
That's Temple of
Oh,
Doom, which
oh.
did appear on Nintendo eventually.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
It-
Let's. Does this game feature? You want to ask about cubes?
Yeah, does it have cubes?
Like,
Does it feature a geometric architecture
All right, we're not
play?
gonna
No, hey, we're withdrawing that question. He just
Good work.
slipped up.
Good
Yeah.
work.
No, let's keep it with snakes.
I mean, it could be Temple of Doom. That's,
Dude, if it was
but that's
Qbert,
Atari.
if it
Atari
was
did
Qbert,
that.
he would have immediately said yes.
But it can't be Temple of Doom
There's a
because
million sequels, guys. This should be easy for us.
Atari did Temple of Doom, so it
Or
can't be
has
that.
sequels.
But Atari, why can't it be that?
Because you said it wasn't Atari.
Scramble,
Oh, I see.
Choplifter,
Not
Winter
Atari. That's
Lighter.
right.
Snakes.
Wars.
A game with snakes.
Scramble?
Does Star Wars have
Atari.
snakes in it? Star Wars is
Other
Atari.
companies were making. I mean, Gottlieb,
Uh,
Stern,
there's Phoenix. That's sci-fi. That was.
Berserk.
Oh,
Wizard of
Stern.
War.
Does Wizard of War have snakes? But that's sci-fi. That's a sci-fi game. Wizard of War is a sci-fi game.
I can't think of.
Oh my gosh! Wait, what about Centipede?
Yeah,
like,
that's
is
Atari
that's
from 1980.
that's
Doesn't
Atari.
make
It can't be Atari. Yeah.
Yep.
Can you see your? Should we say? Can you see
No,
your
no. It's not,
character?
what about control interface?
Oh yeah.
Oh.
Can you jump?
Can you jump? Sometimes. No, I mean,
What
okay,
is
okay.
this?
Okay, hold on.
What is
Yes,
this game? This is a game that's like, well, whatever you want to do.
The literal answer to this, if you're asking if your character can jump, the literal answer is yes.
Okay, it's not Saxon. It's
And
not
you're a human.
bongo. You're a human.
The literal answer, does that mean like, what?
Just like the literal answer to the question, are there snakes in the game, is yes. How
wait.
important they are, I'm not, you know.
Is this like where you create something?
It's
It's
an
an
arcade
arcade
game. That's what's driving me nuts. It's not Asteroids. Okay, let's go through vector games. Are there any vector games we're forgetting?
I'm
No, Tempest and all of that stuff.
All
wouldn't work.
Atari.
It's all sci-fi.
That's all
too.
Atari.
And it's gonna be easier.
Vector is always
The guys
sci-fi.
are sequels. It should be easy.
Yeah, what's going on here?
What else is
There's
back
Williams
from?
games, Robotron, Defender, all that stuff.
Space Invaders is sci-fi again. But those are all
What are-
sci-fi games.
If you're going crazy right there watching us,
Well, that's
not
what I was thinking.
figuring this out and you know
Robotron's a
it,
sci-fi game, and
that's the thing. This one is hard.
Yeah,
you
this-
picked something hard.
Nope. There's
What?
something monumental that you guys are totally overlooking.
Okay.
wow. we're just-
That it maybe was in the arcade.
What are the
later.
biggest games of the early '80s?
I mean, that's what we kind of been going through. Is
No, you're missing something.
all right.
Yeah, I mean, well, from the 83 to 85 period, it's Qbert, Mario Brothers, Dragon's Lair. It could be Dragon's Lair.
It could be Dragon Slayer with Dirk the Daring.
Yeah. Is it
That's-
a Laserdisc game?
Yes.
There we go. Okay.
It's a Laserdisc game.
Nice. Okay, so it's
my
almost
God.
certainly.
Does
It's
it
almost
have a
certainly.
daring character?
Yes.
There you go.
Oh, my
Nice.
God.
Good job, Sam.
Is it Dragon's Lair?
Because I gave you a hint.
Oh, really?
What was the hint?
What was the
What's the
hint?
hint?
A monumental game you guys have totally ignored.
Well, that's kind of where we were.
No, but that's
not
why we went back
monumental.
to
Dragon's
We're
Lair
gonna take
isn't.
credit for this
It's
one,
an
Damon.
animated movie.
Oh, I mean,
That's
Now
okay.
I understand why you say, "Can you jump?"
You can.
Maybe.
Yeah, yeah.
You
I mean,
can't
you
do
can't-
anything in that game.
I swear you've stumped us on Dragon's Lair before.
I don't think so.
And
I
to
used
find out if you
Yeah,
have, you
yeah.
can go to GameScoop's YouTube channel and check
that
out
was me.
20
Watch them all.
questions.
How does that mean?
I thought for sure you'd do something more NVC fitting. Like
I thought that might be too easy and expected.
Yeah,
Like,
no,
I'm not
you
gonna
were-
pick Super Mario Brothers.
And there was that
But it has
horrible NES port
It
of
has
Dragon's
appeared
Lair.
on- and it was on Super Nintendo too.
You got
Oh.
the snakes question right. I'm impressed.
Yeah,
See,
there's
you
snakes in
have
that.
to
Snake in
know
the
the
game.
answer to the questions. to
Where
make
is
sense.
Yeah.
there snakes? Oh, they
There's a
eat
snake
them.
that
Yeah.
like bites
Yeah.
you. And
Yeah.
I remember the sound effects so well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And your character will jump sometimes, maybe not when you
Yeah,
want him
he-
to.
Yeah, he
Leaps
jumps.
around.
He leaps around, and he does that thing where he jumps when the thing's falling down the shaft, and you
Yeah,
jump to
yeah,
the
yeah.
Yeah, 1983 is when that game was out, and the developer is like
Man.
some one-off. They just made those Laserdisc
Cinematronics.
games.
Hey,
They're
and-
the publisher, not the actual developer.
And Damon, it's not about eating.
Nope, it's not.
No,
about
it's
eating.
not about
Although you
eating,
can
it's
die
not
by drinking
sci-fi.
something.
Who's the
Oh, that's right.
I don't have the name, but it's like all they made is
Cinematronics
those
the
later.
publisher?
Yeah, those Laserdisc games.
Jeez.
Okay.
Damon, you
So,
bastard.
if you want to hear
we
more
got
20
there.
questions, there's more of that. If you want to hear more Nintendo Voice Chat, we'll be back next week. This is Nintendo Voice Chat.
Will Jose be returning next week?
No, I will
He's
be
still floating around somewhere in Japan.
We'll be hosting next week too. You can write NBC at IGN.com if you want to give us another retro topic to talk about. I am totally up for that. That's my favorite thing to do. We'll set up
Are you
something
playing
next
Dragon
week.
Quest 7, the remake?
I am not playing it right now because I'm working on something else for
we'll get
review,
Jared
but I'll be
playing
going
it.
back to
Okay,
it.
you should play it because I played a bunch. We should maybe next time talk about that
Let's talk
because
about
that's
it. I can do
new.
that.
And there's a Sonic game coming up. Did anybody play that? I know you love Sonic. I've heard it on games.
I might be prepared to speak about that
Yeah?
soon.
Yeah, there are a couple of third-party titles coming out, right? Nothing major on the Nintendo front. So, all right.
We'll cover that next week for
Is
sure.
Paper Mario not out soon?
Ooh,
Is that
well.
isn't that out in October?
Nah, yeah, we
got a
got a
couple
little
weeks.
time on that
But yeah,
one.
I'm really excited about Dragon Quest Pair. That's a game I really want to play. I'm just working on something else for review right now. So when that's done, I can
Nice.
do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything cool?
I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about it yet or not.
I don't either.
Yep.
Okay, don't say it.
Yeah.
Whisper
Maybe
it
we'll
into
find out next week.
Maybe we'll find out.
All right.
All right. Thanks so much for listening, and see you next week.
Bye.